Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. So, it welcomes to Derry. Episode 3 is coming up tonight at, I believe, 9 p.m. Let's get into episode 2 a little bit.
Now, Charlotte comes across something like kind of strange. There is this sweet little nerdy kid with glasses getting beat up on a street corner, right? It's broad daylight, and she sees this from in the butcher shop. But she's looking around, and there are kind of adults scattered about, and like no one's helping this kid. Which again, I think to me as an adult would be strange too. Like, leave that kid alone. But I think this is really her first taste of something really, really sinister. None of the adults are doing anything. And more than not doing anything, they're not reacting. So Charlotte goes, she breaks up the fight, and two of those kids give her the eeriest stare. Not because she's black, not because she's a woman, but because there is something going on. Now, if you've read it, you kind of know that for the most part, it's something that the kids in the town will notice. And I think, too, one thing that's important to note, the adults are at least aware of it to some extent, but you really just have to kind of go along with it, which is part of Derry's nasty little secret. We're now back at home with the Headlands having dinner. Part of the conversation over dinner is what happened in the square, in the town square, I guess you'd call it, and how what Leroy wants Charlotte to do is to try to leave it alone. Not just because he doesn't want her to cause a scene, but specifically because of what happened to him in episode 1, and he later finds out that his commanding officer set it up as kind of like an initiation. So yeah, from there, we get back to Hank's house. Ronnie can't sleep. She's kind of rolling around, just super restless. And Hank and his mom are arguing because, they're scared. Like, they know that Hank didn't do anything wrong, but they can't prove anything. So we see Ronnie looking at a picture of her mom by her bedside. And then we see something so incredibly cool, but also so incredibly disturbing. As we know, one of the things that it likes to do is feed off of your fear and your adrenaline. And he's literally a master of it. So we see Ronnie throw the covers over her head just to try to drown out the noise and just to try to sit with herself for a moment. And then she starts to pull and pull, and the covers won't move. And she pulls and pulls, and the covers won't move. And then all of a sudden, everything is red, and you hear heartbeat. And I noticed this, and I was so excited because, again, it's so creepy, but it was such a cool concept. She's pulling, and she's pulling, and she's pushing, and she's pushing. And we realize as the viewer, she's back inside her mother's womb. It's the freakiest, scariest thing. But but in terms of graphics and special effects, it was really, really cool. And conceptually, it was also really cool because we know that Ronnie's mother passed away after giving childbirth. So I thought that this scene was done so well. And these little actors and actresses are so talented. I hope that they get to have amazing careers because this was really cool. But she sinks into this amniotic fluid, and it was just a whole mess. And then it spits her out as if she were, being birthed yet again, except this time she's I guess 9 or 10, maybe 11-year-old girl. And she sees her mother's corpse just sitting there and rises up to talk to her. And then the next thing you know, she's realizing she's covered in amniotic fluid, and she's still attached via umbilical cord, and this disgusting mouth right above where babies would come from, right? With all of these jagged teeth start pulling her in and pulling her in and pulling her in, and all of a sudden we see two bright devilish yellow eyes. It's Pennywise. Pennywise is literally trying to make her worst nightmares come true. Super sick, but also cool. Now, one thing I love about Ronnie is you can kind of already tell that she is a fighter. And so, even though the umbilical cord is pulling her in, pulling her in, pulling her in, she literally bites herself to freedom. Like she bites through it and she's able to break free for a moment. Uh, and then this like gross, uh, demon possessed corpse of her mom walks towards her to scare her, right? To just put as much fear into her as humanly possible. And then her dad walks in to comfort her, and no evidence of any of the things that she knew to be real just a moment ago were in her room at all. Um, Again, Pennywise is like sick and twisted, but again, shout out to like the crew and the production team because like that one was so wild. And here's another Stephen King universe connection that I thought was really cool. So if you've ever seen The Shining or read The Shining, Dick Halloran is in this as well. It's really, really cool. We'll see how his powers kind of progress. He's already working on a special project on the Air Force Base. So we'll see more of that in the season. But again, from the trailer, like for the series, it looked really, really cool. So we find them at a bar, just tying one on, talking about the things that they can talk about. Because again, like for Dick, he has special privileges, so there are certain things that he can't talk about. Um, but it's again kind of interesting to see the dynamics. Um, Police Chief Clint Bowers is at the bar, and if you recognize the last name Bowers, we're talking Henry Bowers, who is the bully, and again, Clint Bowers is likely the grandfather to Henry Bowers. But we see this interaction. They want Hank arrested. Again, we know that the investigation's ongoing, and even though we know that he didn't do it, and more or less he should be able to prove that he didn't do it, they don't believe him. They just know that he's guilty. They know that he's lying or whatever. Um, and something that stuck out to me that was so just like insidious. The chief says, "Oh well, this is America," and really protesting that he has the right to a fair trial. And the other guy goes, "No, this ain't America. This is Derry." Again, just tying back into that sort of small town racism that we've all grown to love. From there, the gentlemen go back to the base. Um, we cut later to a daytime scene, right? A few like hours later after they tied one on and Dick's all hungover, but has to be at work. They're on the military base doing their dig. Now, what they're going to find at the end of the episode is like pretty wild. But just like along the like foliage and then along the trees, is a group of indigenous people watching what's happening at the military base. There's going to be more of that later in the series too. Now, it is important to note how I mentioned Dick Halloran in The Shining. That's kind of his like special psychic ability. So that's why he's on this assignment. And he assures his commanding officers that they are close to what they are looking for. Now, this is young Dick Halloran, so I don't believe he has any like real control over it yet, the way that he does in the movie The Shining. But he's using it to his advantage, and again, like to some degree, he's been using it. Now, what I am anticipating too is that he's going to be able to use that to help Leroy Hanlon later in the series, because there so far is kind of this like just unspoken camaraderie, this sort of unspoken brotherhood as they are getting to know each other. So again, we'll see more in episode 3 tonight. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see how that friendship blossoms. We then cut back to Derry High School. Oh, also, I guess these kids are older than I thought they were. Never mind. But anyway, we're back at the high school where Lily is having lunch. She's sitting across from Margie and the popular girls, away from all of them because she just feels like an outcast, and she knows that she's gonna get made fun of no matter what she does anyway. And so she's grappling with that, and we see Ronnie come in. Now, at this point, we know that Lily has given a statement about what happened at the theater. Lily has told the officers that Hank didn't do it, right? Which is like fine and dandy. Ronnie is incredibly upset though because Lily is really trying to protect herself. Now, I do understand where Ronnie is coming from, or excuse me, where Lily is coming from, because she's already been at an asylum. All of the other kids know. And that's, again, one of those things. It's already hard enough to be a kid, but to have spent time in an asylum because of maybe mental health issues, people think that she hallucinates or makes things up. Um, you have that, and then something like what happened to Teddy, Phil, and to Susie. There's a lot weighing on her, so she is doing as much as she can to protect herself, so that she doesn't ever have to go back to Juniper Hill. But from Ronnie's perspective, hey, not only did my dad not do it, my dad wasn't there, and you could tell the officers that my dad wasn't there. And so it's one of those things too where Ronnie's trying to protect her dad and Lily's trying to protect herself. And I think that's going to also be a nice little something to see kind of just change a little bit over the course of the series. I believe the series has a total of 8 episodes. And I hope that they get renewed for another season because I think these kids are wonderful and I just want to see what they can do with it. So, yeah, after that, we run into Will and Rich in the hallway. So again, Rich is the kid. I called him Richie, not like Richie Tozer, but but just Rich. But Rich was the kid in class who picked up Will's pen for him. So again, I'm excited to kind of see what their friendship is going to be like. Now, Rich is of Cuban ancestry, so I definitely think that there's probably a part of him that can relate to what Will is going through with Will being an African American man. I think at the time, because of the distrust of Cuba in the 60s, you can kind of tell that for the most part, he probably won't have it as bad as Will, but he's still definitely going to have his own like social and cultural obstacles that he has to face. Also, I don't know about you, but if there's a kid coming out of the bathroom with something covering his face with a stink bomb in his hand, I'm not going to be sitting in the hallway anymore, okay? You feel what I'm saying? Charlotte later makes another run into town just like to run errands and grab things for the house to make everything just feel really homey. And the business owner is an indigenous woman. So again, I think that there's going to be a camaraderie between the two of them. I think just like a connection that they have, or at least that I'm anticipating that they're going to have. Now, silly little Will ends up in detention because he got blamed for the whole stink bomb thing, right? He like didn't get out in time. So he finds himself in detention with Ronnie. Now, if we go back to the conversation that Ronnie and Lily had in the lunchroom, it did get pretty heated because, again, Ronnie's trying to protect her dad and Lily's only trying to protect herself, which neither of them can understand the other person's perspective really. And little Ronnie uses some bad words that you're not supposed to use. So yeah, she ends up in detention as well. So we get to meet Will and Ronnie, like just kind of talking and just being like silly, and Will's reading his little science book and Ronnie's just pacing around because she can't figure out what she's gonna do. And keep in mind, these are kids. They're freshmen in high school, and so is anybody really going to believe all of the things that they know like have actually happened? During this, we nope, stop. While Will and Ronnie are talking, they kind of peer towards the window to see Lily being escorted out of the school by a police officer. Who's the chief? The police officer, chief of police, Clint Bowers. One of the things that just got me and like made my heart sink is number one, how are you a police officer and you're taking kids from school without their parents? Like, I don't know if that's a thing that they did in the 60s, but whatever. Um, and he's asking her these questions and he is purposefully trying to frame it as though Hank is guilty. Because he can't prove that he wasn't there. Um, yeah, Hank might as well be guilty, but it's really, really messed up, and it is probably the reason why Henry Bowers is messed up in later years. But I will say, like, it made me so mad but like kind of in a good way because the writing is really good. It makes the tension really like palpable, and there's a lot that we can branch off from as the series continues. Now, this is important because of the way that he phrased the question. Um, he later ends up going to Hank's home to arrest him. So he asks Lily if there's any way that she can be sure he wasn't there. And she doesn't really know how to answer it. Now, again, I know that there's a lot riding on this. Lily wants to save herself. Ronnie wants to save her dad. But another thing, Clint Bowers is also trying to save himself. He knows that the people of Derry want it to be Hank. They believe that it's Hank. And he's up against a lot of it. And he wants to be reelected chief of police. So he has Hank arrested. From there, Ronnie goes to Lily's house to confront her. And I would too. I mean, shit. Like, my dad not only is innocent, my dad wasn't even there. And you couldn't just say he wasn't there. Because, he wasn't. And again, this is like before the age of like security cameras and all that other stuff. But still, I feel Ronnie on this one. Now, from here, we are in the jail with Leroy Hanlon. So Leroy is confronting one of the other officers who attacked him in episode 1. Now, again, this is like a little bit before we find out that it was from his commanding officer. But he confronts the dude. He knows he's a racist. The viewers, like the audience, we know he's a racist from the very first episode because he barely wants to look him in the eye or even salute to him as you're supposed to do. And so it's a really, really great like call out though, because he brings a gun to him, takes it apart, and like tells him, hey, like you need to put this gun together and like do what you need to do because again, I am trying to figure out who did this to me, right? This is how he finds out that Masters is like full of shit. Because he gives him a gun, he gives him the clips, and like dude can like barely get the gun loaded. Another reason, I know I keep bringing this up, but for real, I really do like this because we're teetering literally with like real life dramas, but just one is, like a supernatural being, and then the other one is racism. So I'm really interested to see what happens with Leroy and then Masters. I don't expect them to be the best of friends, like at all, nor do they need to be. But I think this is a really pivotal moment. And again, like the pacing is really great. Then from here, we see Leroy go into General Shaw's office to let him know, like, hey, like, dude's innocent. He's not the one who, like, actually did it because there's no way in the world that his punk ass could have loaded that gun in under, like, 10 seconds or whatever they said it was. And that's when they find out, or he finds out, rather, Leroy, that it was set up that way just to kind of test him because of his ranking, all of the things that he had been through. So Major Hamlin, we know, is like really about that life. I really, really like this character a lot. He's tough, and like he doesn't have to like just pretend to be tough. Like he's incredibly smart. He's been through a lot of shit, and it is kind of nice to see that even when he's confronted with these things, he just keeps his chin up, chest out, shoulders back, and he really handles business. So yeah, so far like I'm really liking their portrayal of him. From here, we see Lily at the grocery store, going on a run for her mom, which even in the 60s, I would not be sending my kids to the grocery store by themselves. But anyway, it's not long before she like kind of starts to feel a little bit weird. We're getting a couple awkward stares here and there. And then all of a sudden, all of the like displays in the grocery store turn into like this big maze, and Lily can't figure out what the hell's going on. And then Pennywise keeps showing up in the guise of like different people in Derry. Dude, it's wild. Wild, wild, wild. But this is another one of my favorite scenes because the maze is like, it's just so cool though, everywhere she looks. And we know Pennywise is like a creep and does all these things, but I think that the way it was orchestrated, like the production team, the crew, like they did a really great job. There were a couple people who were walking behind Lily, and they're right up behind Lily doing that creepy smile. So the shots were just really cool. We then get to one of my favorite parts, which is Pickle Dad. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I ain't gonna tell you. You gotta watch the show. So we learned in episode one that her Lily's dad died in an accident, and a lot of the kids in school found out how he died. And what Pennywise does with this is literally takes her this moment that she's the trauma that she's experienced and puts pieces of her dad in different pickle jars as she walks up on them. Dude, it's wild. It's so wild. I'm sitting here like talking about this and I'm thinking pickle dad, pickle dad. But but her father's mutated pickled like face and body just talking to her. And it's so gross and it's so creepy, but it's so creative and it's so well done. Um and she's screaming, she's screaming, she's screaming. Another really, I don't want to keep saying cool, but it's kind of cool to me. Cool thing is there's one scene where she's looking at all these different boxes of cereal, and each different box in front of her has a different child's face on it. And it's the face of Manny Clements, of Phil, of Teddy and Susie. And as she's panning down, they're like slowly decaying. So again, like a really, really cool like shot there, really cool ideas. But dude, this is so wild to me. What a cool way to end the episode. Another thing, after this whole thing, her dad's like talking to her, and it's a mutated pickle person. um, we cut to a pickle jar on the ground. Lily's screaming, she's crying, she's incoherent, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we need to send her back to Juniper Hill because the bitch is crazy." Now, just before we end the episode, we are back at the base, right? So they've been digging and digging for something. Dick Halloran has been using his psychic ability to try to help them find something at this base, right? And they come across this really, really old car underneath all the dirt and the mud, and the doors open, and it's dozens of dead child corpses. Um, just insane, so weird, so disturbing. No one knows like what's going on. Um, but they know that they're close to something. So I think a really, really fantastic end of an episode. Episode 3 is later tonight. I'm super excited for it. I hope y'all are excited for it. Peace out. I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and all that other fun stuff.